Almost everything written about the Roland TR-808 repeats one line that a reviewer said it sounded like marching-anteaters. The quote is real. It is also about a different machine. Keyboard Magazine, November 1982, pages 72 and 73, in a review by Dominic Milano. The machine under review is the Lindrum, the 808's main competitor. Roland is not mentioned anywhere in it. An ethnomusicologist named Kurt Werner went looking for the original in 2015, and this is what he found. He wrote to Milano, who remembered the line and explained that he had been describing 1960s organ accompaniment boxes. It is a good line, and good lines travel. It had been passed along for 30 years, picking up confidence on the way. The machine underneath it was never laughed at. It was reviewed politely, priced sensibly, and sold to people who mostly used it exactly as intended. This is the story of an instrument that became famous for the compromises made to build it cheaply. Ikutaro Kakehashi was born in Osaka in 1930. He lost both parents in early childhood, and American bombing destroyed the family home. At university, he contracted tuberculosis and spent 4 years in a sanatorium as a test patient for streptomycin, then still experimental. He came out and opened a watch repair shop, then radios, then televisions. In 1959, he built his first electronic organ, 49 keys, monophonic, designed to be playable by someone with no musical training. Every instrument he built afterwards was aimed at the same person, someone who wanted to make music and could not read it. He founded Roland in April 1972 in Osaka with 33 million yen. He chose the name because it would be pronounced the same way everywhere in the world. Roland already made rhythm machines. The TR line, transistor rhythm, they played preset patterns you could not change. The 808 was different, and its name says so. Not a rhythm box, a rhythm composer. 16 illuminated buttons in a row, each one a 16th of a bar. Time represented as space, legible at a glance, and playable by someone who could not read a note. Tadao Kikumoto led the engineering, and in Roland's own published interview, he describes the brief he was given. The request from Kakehashi was an inexpensive, realistic-sounding drum machine. Kikumoto's words, he proposed creating a drum synthesizer instead of an expensive PCM machine. Realism meant recordings. Recordings meant memory chips. And in 1980, memory was the most expensive thing in the building. So Roland did not record drums. It built circuits that behaved like them. The machine needed white noise for its snare, its hats, and its cymbal. You can make noise by pushing a transistor junction past its breakdown voltage until the electrons come through in an avalanche. The semiconductor industry spends enormous effort building transistors that never do that. Roland went looking for the ones that did. Every production run of the two SC828 rejected 2 to 3% of its output. Roland bought those rejects, tested them again against its own criteria, and marked the survivors with a dab of paint. In the TR-808, that part is Q35, and in the service manual, only 2 of its 3 legs are connected. It is not amplifying anything, it is doing the one thing it was rejected for. The bass drum's decay is adjustable, and the range is long, up to about 800 milliseconds. Kikumoto, again, in Roland's own words, the expandable decay knob was his intention, and the idea was basically not supported at the time except by Mr. K. The single feature that would go on to reshape popular music is there because the founder wanted it there. The TR-808 shipped in 1980 at $1,195, about $4,500 in today's money. Its competitor arrived the same year. The Lin LM1 drum computer used 12 8-bit digital samples of real drums, played by a session drummer named Art Wood, and the hand claps were recorded by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It cost around $5,500, roughly 5 times the 808, and it sounded like drums because it was drums. Peter Gabriel bought one, Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, Prince. In 1980, the LM1 owned the market that mattered. Lin built 525 LM1s in total. That is the machine everyone remembers winning. Roland's own figure for the 808 is about 12,000 units over 3 years, more than 20 times the LM1's entire production run. The machine with the smaller numbers is the one the industry was watching. Roland discontinued it in 1983. The stated reason was that the reject transistors could no longer be sourced because semiconductor yields had improved and factories had stopped producing defective parts in useful quantities. That is the poetic version, and it is probably true. The plainer version is also true. It was not selling, and Roland's own retrospective says the 808 was considered a poor relation. 1983 is a crowded year. The 808 ends, the TR-909 arrives and sells about 10,000. MIDI is demonstrated at NAMM, and Yamaha ships the DX7, which changes what a keyboard is expected to do. None of these machines looked like winners in 1983. The 808 and the DX7 went on to shape the next 40 years of recorded music. After 1983, a used 808 cost under $100. The machine had not changed, only the price had. An $1,100 professional tool became a sub-$100 pawn shop object at exactly the moment when musicians in the Bronx, in Detroit, in Chicago, Los Angeles, and Miami were building entire genres with no label budgets, no studio access, and no session drummer. Egyptian Lover, in an interview with Roland, he first heard the 808 on a record called Planet Rock, went to Guitar Center the next day, saw the machine for the first time, and programmed Planet Rock into it. Later, when I started out, all I had was the 808, so I learned everything about it. David Noller of Dynamix 2 found his in a pawn shop in Broward County, Florida. He said he used to dream about stumbling into a pawn shop and finding one because you could not buy them anymore. Pawn shops became the distribution channel for the 808's second life. No product plan has a line item for what happens after your product gets cheap enough for anyone to own. The earliest users were not American. Yellow Magic Orchestra had a rental unit before the machine officially launched and played it at Budokan in 1980. Then, 1982, outside Brussels, Marvin Gaye programmed an 808 himself for sexual healing, and his engineer, Mike Butcher, says the first time he heard the song, it was literally just the TR-808 already programmed. Butcher also said that, as far as he knew, Gaye was the first person to program a TR-808 as its own instrument, instead of trying to imitate a drum kit. On the finished record, the 808 is credited as congas, bells, and cymbals, the names printed on the front panel. There was no vocabulary yet for what it actually was. Structurally, it is a bass instrument. The kit comes from a bridged T filter used as a resonator, chosen because it needed fewer parts than a real oscillator, and it rings at about 49.4 hertz, G1 plus 14 cents. You cannot tune it from the front panel. There is no pitch control, level, tone, decay, but turn the decay up and a fixed 49 hertz ring stops being a percussion transient and becomes a sustained note. So the 808 quietly took the bass register away from the bass player. Kick and bass now occupied the same frequency and had to be interleaved rather than layered, which changed arrangement, then mixing, then the playback hardware itself. Most domestic hi-fi in 1982 could not reproduce 49 hertz at all. Car systems could. Club systems could. The decay works by adjusting feedback around that filter, operating near unity gain, so 5% component tolerances make every unit measurably different. No two 808s sound quite alike, and collectors who argue about individual machines are hearing something real. In 1992, 9 years after the machine was discontinued, Roland found out what had happened to it. Kikumoto, in Roland's own published interview, we did not know anything about the Mid-O fever in the US and Europe until 1992. A well-informed guy from an overseas department told us about that. Planet Rock charted in 1982. Sexual Healing won 2 Grammys in 1983, the same year the machine was discontinued. The engineers who built it learned what it had become 9 years later from a colleague in the export office. There was no channel for that news to travel back along. A discontinued product, no internet, no registration data, and a community of musicians with almost no overlap with Roland's dealer network or the trade press that covered it. The TR-808 did exactly what it was designed to do. No specification could have described what people would do with it once it was cheap enough for anyone to own. Roland has sold emulations of it continuously since 1997. Rebirth, the TR-8, the TR-08, the TR-8S, plugins, sample packs, an annual holiday on the 8th of August, and a New Balance sneaker. In 2025, it shipped the TR-1000, its first genuinely analog drum machine in about 40 years, after 4 decades spent modeling in software the circuit it had once set aside. Behringer now sells an analog 808 clone for around $300, roughly 1/15 of what a real one cost used. The original sells for several thousand, more adjusted for inflation than it cost new. Kakehashi spent his career trying to build instruments that people without training or money could play. The 808 did that more completely than anything else he made, and the price collapse is what carried it there. Its sound has since been sampled, modeled, and cloned more than almost any instrument ever built. Every one of those copies traces back to a component that failed its inspection. Every 808 kick you have heard begins with a filter ringing at 49 hertz in a circuit chosen because it used fewer parts. 4 decades of music are built on that shortcut.